Hi everyone, welcome back to a town called Yarn, obviously not a real town. My name is Harrison, I am 29 and I live in the south of England, and this is my place on the internet where I like to talk about knitting, crochet, yarn, all that kind of stuff. If you're new here, thanks for coming. I hope you enjoy. If you do enjoy, feel free to subscribe or leave a like on the comment, and if you're not new here, thanks for coming back. And if you're not subscribed yet or also like this video, then same to you as well. It's been normal 2 weeks since I last posted one of these, and it's been kind of a busy couple of weeks. I spoke in my last video about going to the Southern Wool Show, which happened the weekend before I'm posting this, so that's happened, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. I'll do kind of a whole bit where I talk about my thoughts and kind of how that went, and also some of the things I bought. I've been, you might be able to hear it in my voice, I've been a little bit ill. Especially over this past week, so I might sound a little bit nasally, a little bit bunged up. I'm feeling a little bit better now. It kind of hit middle of this week, but apologies about that. I'll try not to kind of sniffle or cough too much throughout this. But other than that, not really anything else to say, so I guess if we crack on. I've got one finished object this week, which no one, if you've watched these before, you won't be surprised about. I have 3 whips, one and then an extra one that's more of a proof of concept than a whip, but I'll talk about that. I've got a little bit of yarn that's come in, normal yarn that's kind of things that I've kind of clubs that I've got, and then like I said, I'll talk about the Southern Wool Show where there's maybe some more yarn and potentially some slightly different kinds of crafts that I'll talk to you about. So let's crack on. Let's start with the finished object. So I'm just going to flip to my notes so I can give you the details on this. So this is my finished Faded Undulation shawl by SW West. It's quite hard to show, so I might need to do kind of a pan across. So this is, like I said, the Faded Undulation. This is a SW West pattern. It's my second SW West pattern. The pattern calls for a 5 colour fade, but I've done it using 4 colours in fingering weight. The colours I used were 4 greens from Bellica Yarns that I bought at last year's Southern Wool Show. And it starts in the kind of lightest of the greens and then moves through and ends on the darkest section. I knit this using 4mm interchangeable needles. I use the Leica needles pretty much exclusively. And I'm really happy about this. So when I last spoke to you, I've taken off the progress keeper now because it's finished. When I last spoke to you, I had, I think, kind of 3 pattern repeats to go, which I did, and then it's an I-cord bind off. It's a relatively long I-cord bind off, but the I-cord bind off I did on the Shift Cowl is a 2 colour, so you swap the colours each time. This is just a 1 colour, and I found it went so much quicker. I actually didn't mind it that much at all. I did it kind of over the course of a day. I kind of did an hour or so and then put it down and then kind of picked it up, and then I finished it all in one day, which I'm happy about. I've ended up not blocking this for a couple of reasons. One is it's so big that I wouldn't be able to pin it out properly. I just don't have the blocking mats. I don't have enough, and I don't really have the floor space or any space that I'd be able to keep it blocked for the amount of time that it would take. And I think I did a much better job on the I-cord bind off of keeping it kind of looser this time than I did on the Shift Cowl. So it's not really rolled over very much. I'm kind of happy with the way it's finished, so I don't think it needs a block as much. It still feels plenty drapey. It's quite a loose gauge. The pattern I think calls for a 3.5mm needle, so it's a much looser gauge than the pattern, which means it's kind of flowy without the blocking. I might end up blocking it one day, but I think with wear it will kind of loosen up a little bit as well. I can't really work out how to wear this. It's so big and I've never really worn a shawl before. Let me try and put it on. I think the way I would probably wear it would be, I'd probably bring this bit up and around, and I'd probably wear it like, but then this looks odd, I think, so maybe this isn't how I'd wear it. I mean, to be honest, I think it's going to be for my mum, so I don't think I will wear it, so I don't really need to figure it out. But it's lovely and warm. The yarn is I think a 75%, 25% case. Do I have the yarn label sticking around here? I do. It's a 75%. No, that's a completely different yarn dyer. I don't think I do have the yarn label, but I'm pretty sure it's a 75-25. It's definitely a superwash merino nylon blend. So it might be kind of 80-20, it might be slightly different, but it's nice and soft. I really like the way the fade's gone. I'm glad I carried on going a little bit longer in the darker colour like I spoke about last time. Just, it feels like it finishes the fade better than it would have if I finished during the stripe section. And like I said, I think this is going to be a present for my mum, so I think this will be a Christmas present. Which means I'm kind of done with one Christmas present. I mean, I say I'm done early, it's September, and I'm normally well into Christmas shopping by now. I'm quite a planner for Christmas shopping, and I'm actually a bit behind this year. So I don't think I've got anything else to say about that. I've spoken about it a lot in these videos, so if you have watched before, you're probably bored of me talking about it, but I would really recommend this pattern. I think it's a really good... Someone commented on the last video and they said they refer to themselves as a lazy knitter and asked if it was a good pattern for them, and I would say it is. Once you've got the pattern repeat, which I think you get quite quickly, it's very good for you're just going, and it's got obvious places to put it down that are quite simple without you kind of then needing to do a lot of work the next time you pick it up. So I think it's a really good pattern. I think I would probably make one again, but I would do a more interesting fade, I think. These colours from Bellica Yarns I really, really love. And I really, really love this fade, but I think I would prefer a fade that wasn't one colour. I think I'd like a fade from one colour into another, which is how the pattern, one of the examples of the pattern at least, is shown. And I think that's a little bit more visually interesting. So one day I might do another one of these. I think you could get quite an interesting fade by doing it using minis, to be honest. Where it's quite a simple pattern, I think you could easily redo the maths on the pattern, work it out for 20 gram minis, but I'm not going to make one anytime soon, so I don't really need to think about that right now. Although it used about, at this gauge, it used under 400 grams. It probably used about 350 in total. So actually, maybe it would be a good advent pattern. Maybe I will put it, maybe I'll use one of my advents from this year to make another one at some point, but not anytime soon, so I don't really need to think about that right now. But that's it for finished objects. Let me talk about, let me just take a sip of water. When I'm ill, my mouth gets really dry. So let's go on to whips. So I've made a little bit of progress on a couple. I spoke last time about how I'm planning on doing the West Knits MKAL in October, which means I'm trying to do things in September that I'll finish in September. And one of those things, although I'm saying it's kind of, we're getting to the halfway point, I've not finished anything yet, so maybe not. But one of those is I'm making my dad a hat. This is using kind of the Sockhead pattern by Kelly McClure, but with slightly different maths. So the cast on number is the same, but I'm doing slightly different maths on the ribbing. And that pattern is quite a slouchy hat, but I'm making a much more fitted hat. And I am using a Sockset from Ainsworth and Prin, who are the knitting shed. So this is, that's there, there we go. That's the logo. This is a 80%, 20% superwash merino nylon blend with, it's a 4-ply. It's a little bit of a thicker 4-ply because it's 365 meters for 100 grams, whereas I feel like I'm used to getting a 420, which maybe is affecting the gauge actually. I mean, not maybe, it is, but that's fine. And then it's a 20 gram mini, which is the bit I'm currently using. So my plan is to do the brim in this brown colour. I think I've got this much left, which I've not weighed. Is that going to focus on? There we go. But I don't think I'm going to get 5 inches of brim from this 20 gram mini. So I think I might end up finishing the brim using the main colour, which is this blue with some kind of brown speckles, which I think will be, I mean, you won't notice it because the brim will fold up. It will kind of be covered by the brown bit. And I think that's probably a better way rather than just doing a shorter brim. So that's my plan at the moment, but we'll see. I'm going to use the whole of this 20 gram, unless it, I mean, I probably will just use all of this, even if it goes a bit over 5 inches. And that's that. So this is, again, a Christmas present. So there's no rush, but I would like to finish it in September. But now that I've said that, I don't know if I will. So it might just be it's a 2x2 ribbing. Is it? Yeah. Yeah, it's 2x2 ribbing, which I quite like. I find it quite peaceful just knitting in the round like that. So I'm enjoying it. And this is, as there's one project I haven't pulled over actually, as all but one of my projects that I'll show ever really is in the small button-up handmade style bag. Not style, that's the name of the shop bag, which I really, really like. So that is the Sockhead kind of pattern by Kelly McClure, which is the hat for my dad. The next pattern is a new cast, actually, is it? Or how did I cast this on? Yeah, it's a new cast on. I bought, and I showed, let me show you the skein. Earlier in the year, the Crafty Bird did a Good Omens collection, so based on the TV show Good Omens. And one of the colourways was a colourway called M25, which is this, which I bought 2 skeins of in the Cosy DK base, which is 100% superwash merino. It's a really, really kind of soft and squidgy base. I really love it. And I knew I wanted to make this something for me that I would wear, but I couldn't work out what, because I didn't want it to be where it's a it's obviously quite a variegated base. I didn't want it to be anything too complicated. So I didn't make anything for a little while until I found a pattern by Tin Can Knits, which is called the Simple Yet Effective Cowl, which is an excellent name because that's exactly what it is. So I am on my first ball of this still. It's a free pattern by Tin Can Knits, which they've got a load of great, really kind of simple free patterns, which I think are really good beginner knits for a lot of people. And it just works out. It's just a mixture of, it's knit in the round, and it's just a mixture of purl stitches and knit stitches. So you get these kind of garter bump kind of sections that give it a little bit of texture, but it's really showing off the yarn wonderfully. The yarn's knitting up really, really nicely. This pattern comes in 2 sizes, but I've kind of made my own size. So the 2 sizes, it comes in like a 20-inch one, which you'd knit on 16-inch circulars, and then a 40-ish inch one, which you'd knit on 32-inch circulars. I didn't want it to be quite 42 inches because I didn't want it to sit down so low. I wanted it to be kind of here, not here, and definitely not like right up here. I don't know if that was useful, like showing like that. But so what I did is I kind of did my own maths to make a 35-ish inch one, which I'm not sure whether I've got that. I think I might have ended up a little bit bigger than that with the gauge, which is fine. So I'm knitting these on, what am I knitting them on? I'm knitting them on 4mm, 32-inch circulars. They're not, it's interchangeable, but it's the size comes out to 32 inches. And I'm probably about halfway through. I've got this much left of my first skein, so I will definitely dip into the second. I'm hoping I don't need to dip into it too much because I would like to make a matching hat, I think that would be a really cute combination. But we'll see. I will use as much as I need for this. So I'm planning on making it about 11 inches long, but we'll see where I get to. And I'll keep trying it on to see whether I think that's the right height. So, and this, I think I will finish this in September because, like I said, I cast this on at the start of the month. I'm about halfway through, and we're about halfway through September. So I'm really happy with that. And I just love how this yarn is turning up. I could never have enough of this yarn. I think if the Crafty Bird ever brings it back, I might end up buying a little bit more to maybe just make everything in. I think it would be a wonderful jumper, but it would be quite a bougie jumper doing out of, I should put that skein back in so I don't lose it. And again, that's in one of the medium-sized bags by Button-Up Handmade. So let me just reach for my other whip that I was going to talk to you about. So this is the only one that I've got that's not in a bag made by Button-Up Handmade. This is made by me. This is it's a weird shaped bag. I've spoken about this before, it's meant to be wider, but I didn't do the maths right. And I've got on this one of Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful's dodgy bag pins, because it very much is a dodgy bag. This is the, what's it called? The Granny Wrap by Anaboos House. And I'm doing this in the Greenlambkin Yarn Secret Treasure Box Blanket Club, which is a monthly club. We get 4 20-gram DK minis each month. And I'm throwing them in each month to this. And I'm really, really loving how it's turning out. It's, colour-wise, it's kind of not something I wouldn't buy all of these colours to go together. It's a little bit random, which I really like, because this to me feels like very traditional crochet. This is the kind of thing I think you see on like TV, if there's like crochet, especially in a kind of like older woman's house, these kind of colours and this kind of technique. So I really, really love it. I have added in the 4 new colours, which were August's colours, which came last week or this week. They might have come early this week. What I'll do is I've taken a picture of them in skeins, because it's starting to get to the point where it's not super easy to show you them in the, but I will still show you if I can find a bit where all 4 of them are visible. So, kind of, you get, one of them was a purple, there was a pink, there was a kind of bluey purpley, and then there was a green with some purple speckles. So it's those last 4 colours there. So that green, that purple, that pink, and then that blue kind of also purpley skein. So we're 2/3 of the way through this now. And as you can see, it's getting to be a really good size. I can't wait for this to be finished so I can use it. I think this feels like the kind of pattern that I just kind of know I'll make a lot of over the years, because it's really, really simple. It's really, really mindless crochet, which I love, but also it's just wonderful. And I know Ali, who kind of inspired the reason I made this, she's used, I think both of hers are fingering weight, and she's used advents for them before. And I'll wait until I've seen the whole advent. I won't do it throughout the month, but I might end up making one of my advents into one, because having a slightly lighter one might be nice for the spring. I'm using a 4.5mm crochet hook for this. And then I think that's everything. Let me take another sip of water, because like I said, my mouth's getting really dry when I'm ill. So that's all of my whips, kind of. I have one more that's kind of a proof of concept, mainly because this isn't the yarn I'm going to use for it. Or it is the yarn, but it's not the colourway. So, my boyfriend loves a blanket. I've made lots of blankets. He uses none of them because he kind of likes that, what's the word? I suppose it's kind of that chenille, really, really soft kind of fabric. So instead of any of the ones I've made, he uses one that we bought ages ago that was like really cheap from TK Maxx. I'm determined to make him a blanket that he will use that I've made, because every time I see him using a different one, I just kind of look at all the blankets I've made and I feel a bit sad for them. So I have bought a skein of Banat blanket yarn, which I've never used a yarn like this before. It's a, what's it listed as? It's a super chunky or super bulky. I think bulky is the way they say it in America, but I think we say chunky in this country. So it's a super chunky weight yarn. This is a 300-gram ball, and you get 200 meters for 300 grams. So it's obviously a very thick yarn. I've done a lot of practices with this. This isn't the colourway I'm going to use because he's seen it and he doesn't like it. So I don't know what I'll do with this actually. I might end up turning it into like an amigurumi, but I don't know if I hate myself enough to try and make an amigurumi out of this kind of yarn. So we'll see. But I've tried a few things. Originally my plan was a moss stitch blanket, because quite simple stitch, and I thought there'd be enough spaces between the stitches to still be able to see it, because that's the problem with this yarn, is that it's so kind of fluffy that you can't see your stitches particularly easily. So moss stitch didn't end up working out. It was a bit of a faff. So then I tried knitting. Not a massive spoiler. I bought these 9mm circular needles from the Southern Wool Show, and I thought maybe I'll knit, because at least on knit you can see all of the current stitches. I tried that, but it just really hurt my hands. I knit maybe 4 or 5 rows and I was kind of like, this will take me about a year to finish if I knit it. So I ripped that out and I went back to crochet and I thought if I just use a massive needle, so I've got this, let me pull it up. I've got this 12mm Prin needle, and I've used these before for, I don't know why I got the Prin needle. I have a whole set of them, but I can't remember what I got them for. But I've got a set, so I've got use the 12mm, and I think I'm going to make either a granny square blanket or a granny stripe blanket. I'm not entirely sure. I think I might change it to a granny stripe because I don't think I want it to get infinitely bigger. I think I want to pick a size and then go out with it. But I found this quite straightforward. There's obviously holes in it, but where it's still quite fluffy, it will still be plenty warm. And if anything, it'll be nice that it's breathable because this is 100% polyester. So, I mean, is polyester breathable? I know acrylic's not particularly breathable. Polyester might be a little bit more. I'm not sure. And I think that's the plan. So what I need to do now is find the colour that he wants. I want to go with a variegated because otherwise I'll get really bored, but I think he would probably prefer a solid, so I might end up just doing a boring solid. Not that solids are boring, but you know what I mean. And that's that really. So like I said, not really a whip, kind of a proof of concept, but at some point I'll do this. This will probably be something I try to do this winter, just so he has it for when it's really cold. Because otherwise I end up making blankets in the warmer months. Because that's when I think about them, and then one, they're not the nicest to make when it's warmer because they're sat on you, but also that means no one uses them for ages. So that's that. There's nothing really else to say about that. It's not in a project bag because, I mean, how could it be? It's so massive. So that is all of the crafting. So let's talk about yarn / the Southern Wool Show. What I'll do is I'll quickly go through, or semi-quickly go through, the yarn that's come in normally. So a couple of clubs have come in. Obviously the club for the Secret Blanket Yarn Club, no, Secret Treasure Box Blanket Club, came in but then went straight into that. So I'm not going to show them again now because you've already seen them. But I have 2 other clubs to show, and then my MKAL kit has also turned up. So I'll show you that, and I'll show you which one I went with, because I think I showed you 2 options last time, and I don't know if I said which one I was going to go with. So, if you are a member of the Cool Woolings Mini Society or the Lottie Knits Mini Fade Club, and you haven't seen the August colourways, skip ahead a bit because I'm going to talk about them now. But you should have had them by plenty of time, so I don't think this will be a spoiler for anyone. Let's do Cool Woolings first. This is a little bit different for Cool Woolings. So this is this one that's showing up relatively true to colour. It's maybe not quite as bright as that's showing up. It's kind of a bit of a fade, which I wasn't really expecting. It's quite a bright colour, which is what you get with Cool Woolings. They tend to be kind of brighter, bolder solids. But this is the first time it's kind of been a fade like this. And if I'm honest, I don't really know what I will do with these colours because they're not really a kind of green that I have a lot of use for. So I think this will probably end up going in some kind of gift make. Because I think I might have some friends that would maybe like this kind of green. But that's it. You get 5 mini skeins. I think they're 75%, 25%. It doesn't say in the label anymore, but it used to. And that's everything for those. So not really a lot to say. But that is the August colourway. And then the kind of staying on a similar colour theme. So the Mini Fade Club. So what these are you get a separate mini fade. So it's not a year-long fade. You get 5 mini skeins that are in themselves a fade. And this month's is also a kind of green fade. So it kind of goes from being a kind of mossy, kind of foresty green right round to some kind of brighter greens there, which is quite nice. I've completely lost track of what I think I'm going to do with these because originally I was putting these into a blanket, which I spoke about a few episodes ago, but the more and more I've seen them, And the more varied they've been across the year, the less I think they'll make sense as one project. So I'm not entirely sure what I'll end up doing with these. These are an 80%, 25%, no, an 80%, 20% superwash merino nylon blend. And they're actually really soft. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure. A bit of me thinks of maybe cancelling this club, but then also there's only 4 months left, so I'm kind of like, maybe I'll really love some of the other ones coming up and I'd be sad that I didn't have them. But then I also don't just want loads of yarn, but then I already have loads of yarn, so maybe I wouldn't notice. But that is my 2 clubs. So no other yarns come in other than the Southern Wool Show, but other than the MKAL. So let me show you this kit. So this arrived, make sure I don't show my address, don't want to dox myself. So this arrived earlier this week, I think on the Monday. So it took about a week after ordering for it to turn up, which isn't too bad because it came from Amsterdam. And this is let me move some things out of the way. I'll show you those separately. Show you that separately, show you that separately. So this is the kit I ended up going with. I think I'm showing it upside down. So I ended up going with the one called, does it say what colourway it is on there anywhere? I think it's called Golden Ocean. So 2 solid colours of this really wonderful yellow, and then 2 very variegated skeins that are in this kind of, I'd say the main colour probably comes out is the teal, but then there's obviously kind of some greens and some pinks and some purples in there as well. I'm really excited for how this is going to work out. I'm going to do my swatch this weekend just to make sure I'm getting gauged. I bought some non-interchangeable needles because I wanted something that I just wanted it to move a bit smoother, especially where this is, I'm not necessarily rushing to get this finished in October, but I just thought if I can remove a tiny little bit of annoyance, I'll do that. I also bought the matching mohair, or the suggested mohair, or it's called Glow Hair. So this is the West Wool brand Glow Hair. It's 64% mohair, 36% mulberry silk. And this is 25 grams and you get 210 meters for the 25 grams. So that matches, or it kind of goes along, it's not obviously a complete match, but it goes along with that yellow. And that's for the Mohair Dare section, which I think I'll get involved with. It also came with a little pin, not a pin, or I guess it's like a shawl pin, which I think he said is a idea of what the shape it will be. So I think we're doing a kind of crescent shaped shawl, which I don't really know what it's going to be, so it's hard to comment on that. It also came with an acrylic needle gauge and swatch gauge thing, so these were kind of random. So mine came with a pink one. I don't really use needle gauges much because all my needles have a printed on, but I mean, I guess I'll use this for my swatch. And it is useful to have, to be honest. Be useful to count. And then it also came with some stickers. I quite like a sticker, but I never know what to do with them. So we've got one that says Crafty Queen, one that says Knitter, and one that says Go Go Dynamo, which is the name of this year's shawl. So that's everything on that. So I'm excited to get onto that. So like I said, I'll swatch this weekend, make sure that I've sorted out my gauge, and then this starts on October 3rd. So this is the reason I'm trying to not start anything else that feels like long term, because I want to be able to give this a good amount of time. Hopefully I enjoy it, because otherwise I don't have anything cast on. So I might end up casting something else on if I don't enjoy it that much. But I'm sure I will. I'm excited to like learn new things and try different techniques, etc. And even if I don't like the finished object, that's more why I'm doing it. I'm more doing it so that I can try something new, make something I wouldn't maybe make normally, and then have something that's maybe visually quite interesting at the end. So, FO's whips, yarn, MKAL. Let's talk about the Southern Wool Show. So, actually first, let me have a sip of water. So, the Southern Wool Show happens at Newbury Racecourse, which is about an hour away from where I live. I think it counts as like northern Hampshire, which doesn't really make sense because Hampshire's in the south, but towards the top of Hampshire, I think. And it happens early September, it's a 2-day event, so it happens on a Saturday and Sunday. I went on the Saturday, which was the 7th this year. And it was a Saturday, I don't know anything else to say about that. So I go with my parents. So my mum knits, and I don't drive, and my dad drives. So my dad comes along because my mum doesn't drive. So we go, but I think he really enjoys it, actually. If anything, he really loves talking to people. He's a bit of an extrovert. I'm a little bit more introverted. So he kind of there was a couple of people that, like, I think he'd spoken to last year that then he kind of spoken to this year, and it's kind of, he doesn't even knit or crochet or do anything like that, but he's like making friends at Southern Wool Show, which was fun. But we went, it was really good. It's set into 2 stands. So there's the grandstand, which I'd say is kind of the main area, it's the bigger area, which obviously has loads of stalls, and then there's a separate stand, which is a slightly separate building, which is slightly smaller. But you get a mixture of crafts across both. I tend to find that the grandstand tends to be mostly your kind of traditional yarn, knitting, crochet things. There's some fibre there as well. There's a company called Moon Beads, which my dad really loves, where they it's a Japanese style of bead weaving, I think. There's a name for it, but they're in there, and then there's some knitting needle, there's Knitting for Fun there, so loads of knitting needles, those kind. And then the Berkshire stand also has yarn, but that's also where you'll kind of tend to find your other kind of craft. So there's some weaving in there, there's a little bit more spinning, there's a bit more, there's kind of felting, those kind of things, which is a fun way to set it up. And I'm assuming that's set up on purpose. I'm assuming the people that run it curate it like that, but it might not be, it might just be people apply, and that's how it ends up happening. So we started in the grandstand. Last year we did a lap and then went back to buy things. However, this year I kind of knew what I wanted a little bit more, and I knew what I liked, so I didn't feel like I need to see everything before I started buying things. So I kind of just started buying things straight away. I didn't buy too much, actually. I bought less than I thought I would, because where I've got, last year I went, I didn't really have much of a yarn stash. It was kind of my first foray into hand-dyed yarn. So I kind of felt like a bit of a kid in a candy shop, sweet shop. I don't know why I say candy. It's very American of me. But you get the point. This year I knew what I wanted. I had a bit more of a list this year. And then I still bought some things that were kind of, I didn't know was going to be there and that were exciting. So I'm going to try, what I'll do is I'm going to try and talk about it as I go through the things I bought. But whether that's successful or not, who knows. I think the first person I bought anything from, there might be a bit of crinkling because it's in plastic and we don't want to take it out, is Madrigal Yarns. So actually this isn't the first place, but I'll talk about this. So I followed Madrigal Yarns on Instagram for a little bit, and I really like their yarns. And I think I get them mixed up with Madrigal quite a lot. So sometimes I think that they're like a bit more commercial, whereas actually they're not. They're just different brands that both start with an M. And I bought this, or my mum bought for me actually, because I didn't know what I wanted for my birthday this year, so I kind of just said to my parents, I was like, if you just want to buy me some yarn, that works. So this is it's a mini skein set, but it comes with a pattern for the Vacationer shawl, which he was actually, I can't remember his name actually, but the owner, the dyer of Madrigal, I should look that up because it feels rude to just talk about him as just his brand, because obviously he's a real human being. But then I'm not entirely sure that his name is... No, I can't find it on Instagram. So, he was there and he was knitting one of these currently. It looks like a really fun, simple pattern. It looks it has similar vibes to the Cowl I just showed, the Simple Yet Effective, where it's kind of a mixture of stockinette and garter ridges. But obviously it's not in the round. And this is everything you need for it. I can't decide whether my plan is to make that or to put this in. So I haven't spoken about this week because I haven't made any progress on it, but I am currently making a granny square blanket using a mixture of variegated yarns that I'll make into granny squares and then eventually join them all up. And originally that was what drew me into this yarn, was these kind of colourways I think would go really nicely on my blanket. However, I also think this shawl would be really nice. So I wonder whether it would probably use too much yarn, especially for, I would probably end up with quite a significantly shorter shawl if I also put some into my blanket, so I might not do that, because especially this last one, this kind of moody, I just think so pretty. So maybe I might kind of maybe make a bit of a magic knot ball out of the scraps and try and make a couple of squares using that. Potentially, we'll see. But that was actually my second purchase, but my first one that I've showed you. So also in the grandstand were, that's it, was Rosies Moments, who I'd not heard of before. So this, they had a really lovely stall. They had a lot of kind of good mixture of bases. They had they had some really good kits. So my mum ended up buying they had these really nice little bags that came with a yarn and a couple of pattern options in them. My mum bought one of them because she's going to try and make her first pair of socks using that. And I saw this colourway, which I really like. I think my vibe at the moment is slightly muted rainbows. So I want lots of colour in yarn, but I want it to be slightly muted, but like every yarn to have all the colours, if that makes any sense. So this is a 80%, 20% superwash extra fine merino nylon blend. It's 400 meters for 100 grams, and this is called Maple Leaves. No other information. So I really like it. Yeah, Rosies Moments. I will link, so everything I've spoken about so far today, I always have in the description. I'll link everyone down below as well. I think it's also, I'll link the Southern Wool Show below, because if you're looking for some new dyers or makers or people to support, I always think going to their exhibitor list, even if you didn't go to the show or see them when you were there, it's a great place to kind of find some different online shops as well. So that's that. The couple that were there, so Rosie, I'm assuming her name was Rosie, she was really, really lovely, and her husband was there as well helping out, and he was really, really nice as well. They're a really lovely couple, and my dad was there kind of making friends with, I don't know if I got his name, but with what I assume is Rosie's husband, but Rosie might not even be her name. Although it does say hand dyed by Rosie, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that her name's Rosie. So then I went to, let's do these. So there was, are these all the same? There was another stand who I've also not heard of before called Dinas Home of Crafts. I kind of had on my list that I wanted to buy mohair this time because I've not knit with mohair, and I have this plan to knit something where I use a kind of plain, quite simple yarn held with a variegated mohair to get that kind of soft haze of colour through it. And this one really drew me in. I didn't really have to think about it very long. This is the Colourway Golden Hour. It's really, really autumnal, really, really kind of feels like the right time of year to have a colour like this. This is 42% baby alpaca, 13% merino, 10% yak and 35% silk. Yeah, that math does work. So this is 500 grams and you get 400 meters for it. It's wonderfully soft. And I luckily don't think I'm allergic to it. I was a little bit sneezy when I got home from the event and I thought maybe it was this, but actually I just think it was some dust. So really, really happy with that. And then she had a wonderful stand of, it was a really fun stall actually, because she also had some notions and that kind of thing. So there was a lot to have a look at and choose from. But she had a wonderful stand of minis. And I knew I wanted to get some minis to go on my blanket that I spoke about. So I picked up these three. So these are all 75%, 25% nylon blend, and they're all 20 gram minis. So I bought these three. They're coming up a little bit. Are they? No, maybe they are showing up right. They're just really lovely, kind of, I really love this one. I had to move quite a few out of the way to get to this one on the stand. Not people, I wasn't like pushing people, but to get to that. So I'm excited to put these in my blanket. I think they'll go really nicely. So that was what I got from Rosie, no, that was Rosie, from Dinas Home of Crafts. And again, she was really, really lovely too as well. Everyone's lovely, really. You get the odd person who's kind of visiting who maybe is a little bit impatient, but mostly everyone's kind of lovely at these things, which is nice. It's really nice atmosphere. So then, is that everything I bought in the main? Yes. Yes. Oh, and then I've already shown you these. So Knitting for Fun was there, and that was where I got these needles. They have loads of the kind of Knit Pro needle options, so it's really great if you buy a yarn, you can then go get the right kind of needles if you're buying a base that you don't knit with a lot, which is fun. So then I went to the other stand, and literally I had 4 specific stands on my list that I wanted to go to, and they were literally all in one row. So I ended up just going kind of one to the other, and I kind of did a lot of my purchasing in the space of about 15-20 minutes. So the first one I went to was called Opus Anglicanum, which is a woman called Tanya, and she does, I think they're embroidery kits, but it says laid and couch works kit. I think in the world of like embroidery cross stitch, there's a lot of different kinds of that thing. What she has though, she has kits that are based on, or like come from actual drawings from old tapestries or old kind of medieval illustrations. And I think they're really lovely. Some of them are quite kind of comedic, as you often get in those kind of illustrations. But the style of it I think is really, really nice. And she had one called the Hounds, or just Hounds, which is these 3, what you have to assume would be kind of greyhound these days, with some kind of flowers going around them. I love snooty dogs. I love any dog with a long face. When me and my partner have a garden, then we're absolutely going to get either like a greyhound or a whippet, that kind of thing. They're my favourite. So this really spoke to me. And in this, you get all the different yarn, which I believe is all hand-dyed, which is really, really fun. You get the, let me show you this. You get the fabric, which you're going to do which has already got the pattern drawn on, which is really, really helpful. So you're kind of able to fill that in. And then it also comes with the needle and all the instructions. I just need to buy something that will give me some tension on this, I think, because I don't have any like embroidery hoops or anything. So I think I'll buy one of those so that I can fill this in. And then I'm really, really excited to have this, and I think I'll like frame it. And I think when I've done one, if I enjoy it, then I think this vibe would be nice to have a few of. And I also think they'd be really good gifts. So I hope I enjoy it. And I also hope it doesn't take too long. Or if it does take long, I hope it's not like laborious, because it's a craft I've never done before. But yeah, she was really, really lovely. And she's got a lot of kind of online resources as well. So if you check out Opus Anglicanum, she's got loads of kits. There's loads on there. So something for everyone. Then I went to Woolen Witch, who I bought some yarn from last year. I bought a 50-gram fingering skein that I turned into a dice pouch, which I was going to show you actually, but it would take me about an hour to find it. I have no idea where it is. In the colourway Kingfisher, and I wanted more of that colourway. Originally, I was planning on buying in the kind of sock weight merino nylon blend. However, I saw that there's this 40% Shetland, 40% Blueface Leicester, 20% alpaca blend, 100 grams, 350 meters, still fingering. And this is so it's this kind of blue with these kind of like paler bits and then these pops of orange in there. There's something about this colourway that I just am obsessed with. So I'm really happy to have another skein of that. I think I'll make this a hat. And I'm kind of into the idea. I have a lot of merino nylon, 100% superwash merino blends. I'm kind of into the idea of trying out some different kinds of fibres, trying out some different things. So this is a good start for that. So it's still kind of nicely soft, but has that obvious kind of slight, I suppose, tooth to it that you get from a slightly more rustic yarn. But it will still be really nice and soft on the skin. It's not kind of overly rustic. But I'm really excited about that. And then I also got a stitch marker, which is this. So actually that's all of their information if you can read that. But like I said, I'll link them below. I got this little bat stitch marker / progress keeper. And my boyfriend loves bats, so my plan is that this will be the kind of one that denotes anything I'm making for him. Which was really nice. Again, another really lovely person who makes really fun things, really fun stand. Always fun to see them there. Then another new craft, which I've actually kind of started, so I guess this kind of counts as a whip. Let me get this out. Apologies, sorry about the rustling. So I have a dream of weaving. I have a dream of being able to weave fabrics and then maybe use those fabrics to make things, or maybe to make tapestries, or I kind of just want to do everything. So there's a brand called Tabby and Tweed who have these little looms to kind of practice on. So I got one of their kits that came with, so it came with 3 colours of yarn, the frame, and then the needle, and that's it. That's all you need. And I have I was kind of going to take it as a beginner and just do like a little bit at a time, but I decided to do all colours all at once. And I'm going to try the different techniques as I go up. So I found doing the warp. Is it the warp? Yeah. I found doing the warp really, really satisfying for some reason. And I find it really satisfying how even it is, especially in that section. And then my plan is to split this vertically into thirds, and I'm doing one technique for a third, and then I'll try a different technique for a third, and then I'll try a third technique for the final. So I'm really happy. There's the odd mistake in there, but I'm trying to be brave about it and not get be an overly perfectionist about it. But I'm really enjoying it. And this was my attempt at not going all in. So this is kind of a small kit. I can learn if I like it, learn some of the techniques, and then if I do, I can then eventually move on to maybe a slightly bigger loom that you can do a bit more with and make kind of more practical things with. My plan for this is it'll probably just be a bit of fabric I hang up somewhere, to be honest. I don't think it will become anything. It's a little bit too big to be a coaster, but maybe a coaster. We'll see. Actually, there's just like one bit there where I've just like never... Anyway, but I'm happy with that. And that was from Tabby and Tweed. So I'm enjoying that. I find it quite kind of, again, it's quite mindless, just kind of, which is probably why there's mistakes, because I'm treating it as mindless and I've only just started. So finally, I spoke about the Crafty Bird earlier. A really, really big fan of their dyeing style, and they have recently, or they're currently still on a pre-order for their autumnal collection. Or it's actually called Season of Magic, but it's kind of, autumn is the season. And they had, I'm still umming and ahhing about buying any full skeins online, because there's a couple of colourways I really, really love, but they had a mini skein set there, which is, I just think is so pretty. So these are destined for the blanket. I bought a mini set of the Good Omens collection as well, and they are in the blanket. So at this point, like 10% of the blanket is going to be Crafty Bird yarn, which I'm not mad about at all. It's reflecting quite a lot, but I don't know what I'm holding my hand up. I can't, the light's the other side of me, so. But really, really kind of nice variegation, really. And then I think it's one of these 2 colours at the end there that you can't really see, but I'm considering getting a full skein of because they're really pretty. But like I said, those are destined for the blanket. So, have I missed anything? So I've also had, but I will speak about it next time actually, because I should have spoken about it in my notes were I'm a bit ill, so my notes weren't particularly well thought out for this. I've also got the next set of the Footstep Yarn Club by Pixie Yarns, which is a quarterly that's come in, but I've not actually done anything with it yet. So the next time I speak to you, I'll have probably started adding it into that blanket. So then I'll show you and I'll talk about it then, because I just haven't had a chance to. I've also had the Flexi Flip, or I don't know what the brand I bought call them, but the flexible double pointed needles have come in, and I've not used them yet, but I kind of already think that they're probably going to be the move when it comes to knitting small circumference circulars. I think I'm not going to start with socks though. I think I might start with some hand warmers for my partner, so that one, I don't have to learn the heel straight away and just can get used to using them, but also so that he can stop nagging me and asking why I haven't made them for him, because I bought yarn to make those at last year's Southern Wool Show and it's been a year now and I've not started them. So I think that's everything, and this is probably turning out to be quite a long episode, so I will leave it there. If you've, like I said at the start, if you enjoyed this, a like would be great. It'd be great if you want to subscribe and stick around and see more of these, see what I end up doing with some of this yarn. If you're still here though, thank you so much for watching. I was about to say if you're not still here, but you won't be reading that. If you've got any questions, or if you've got any thoughts about the things I've bought, or any kind of, if you went to Southern Wool Show and you got anything, let me know in the comments. Comments are always lovely. I read all of them, I reply to all of them. It's nice to have little conversations down there. But other than that, I will see you in 2 weeks' time when I'm hopefully a little bit less bunged up. And I hope you have a great couple of weeks. Thanks. Bye.